Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another short little unboxing video to share with you guys. I know why a bunch of you clicked on this video. You see that ZT logo and you're ready to jump in the comments and complain! Complain! I get it. Because I've got my own complaints for sure. But I would ask you, hold on, pump the brakes. Obviously I think we all know what this is. And I think, this knife, was, received, understandably not the most positive, but I also feel like it wasn't, it was a lot of people's reaction to new ZT releases are not entirely fair. And I want to dissect this just a little bit. Mainly because I like Kai USA. They're also responsible for Kershaw, who, on the other side of the coin, is making phenomenal things in 2024 and in 2023, even 2022. The last 2 to 3 years, honestly, have all been great. So, I'm going to talk about the price. I'm going to talk about ZT's current design philosophy, all of that. Yeah, that's what we're going to do moving forward. Thanks so much to Kai USA for sending this in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. What do we have? We have, yes, the 0556 Auto in titanium. Has ZT ever done an automatic before? Not to my knowledge. I asked this in a previous, what sort of black magic has bound this knife within. Here we go. I don't think ZT has ever done an auto before. I could be wrong, but I asked this question recently in it was like a Blade HQ walkthrough, and I don't think so. So, let's keep in mind, it's an auto. Ooh. Okay, I do have to point this out. It is nice. It's like the machining's nice. The carbon fiber looks nice, right? I do like that button. It is small, but it is USA made. How's the power? Yeah. You know what it feels like? It feels a lot like a Kershaw launch, which is what people said, right? This is what we're going to see in the comment section down below. It's already there, right? I mean, I can easily predict what's going to be said, but it's already, these people are too quick because that's the goal, right? It's too small. It's too much money. It should have been a Kershaw. If the Kershaw, my favorite one is, slap a Kershaw logo on it and reduce the price by $100. So, yeah, I agree with some of that, but definitely not all of it. First and foremost, the quality is very, very good. ZT has, had, in the past, they've had, heat treatment issues with, according to the community, because a lot of times the HRC range will come down to opinion. But they've had in the past, HRC ranges that were not what everybody wanted for particular steels, not all steels. And then a couple of cases they've had fit and finish issues in terms of like lockup or like bevel consistency, which this looks pretty good. This looks nice and even, right? So what are we actually looking at, and what is a fair price for this? Is all of that fair? Is there an audience of people who wants this? Even if we can, justify the price and understand and all that, is there an audience of people who wants this product? So a lot of the complaints about zero tolerance stem from people like me who really, really enjoyed that magical 2012 to 2017. A lot of people say, nah, you got to go back further, 2010. All right, fine. 2010 to 2017, I think a lot of us can agree, it was a very magical time for zero tolerance. This was also a time before everything inflated dramatically, right? So the prices of everything, not just zero tolerance products, literally everything has gone up since then, right? But they were also making different products then. They were making bigger, burlier, more heavy-duty knives. So a lot of people could argue that a lot of the knives they make now have thinner geometry. They're going to be better in terms of like EDC cutting performance. I think it's obvious that zero tolerance is just trying to tackle a different demographic than they used to, while at the same time cater to the enthusiasts, the people who want something a little bit more premium. Is that working for them? it must be. This is something that my community and the community of people that I sort of represent and other, content creators like me, you guys, we have to remember, we are not the entire community. We are actually a small part of the community. A small part. This is one of the biggest issues I have with people saying the community. It's like, you mean the part of the community that you represent, right? But people don't really, I think, have a full scope of the knife community. The knife community is massive, right? Us here on YouTube knife reviewers, and the Instagram folks, we're loud, but we're not the community. We are a small part of the community, right? ZT and this brand, the Zero Tolerance brand, extends far past us with our noses in the air. And oh yes, this isn't quite up to our standards. No, ZT, I think you must return to your roots. We love to say that type of stuff. And I agree, I would love for Zero Tolerance to make bigger knives and cater to us, the real knife community, us. I get it. But they extend, like, their target demographic and their customer base is so much larger. When you think about all the different retail chains that sell Zero Tolerance products, right? So if this type of thing wasn't working for them, then I don't think we'd see it anymore. It must be working in some capacity. Or have they been ridiculously successful versus their Kershaw brand? No, almost certainly not. I think the Kershaw wing of things is obviously substantially more successful, given that because of the price point and the quality, it caters both to our end and everybody else, right? Which is, when I say everybody else, like, this is going to be hard for some people to choke down, but I mean the majority of the true all-encompassing knife community, right? This sort of social media wing of the knife community is not the majority, but everybody, and it's like we if you exist only here, right? It's just a small part. So yeah, I think Kershaw is obviously more appealing, right? So the ZT brand in particular gets a lot of criticism from our side. We want them to be bigger. We don't want to pay that much because we're not used to our American ZT knives costing that much. But again, when we're asked to reference price points that we think are fair, we tend to reference price points that came pre-2017, right? And I'm poking fun at you guys, but I also think that it's like, why I want it to be bigger and I want it to cost 50% less, I do. I get it. Is there an audience for this stuff? There must be, but I don't think a lot of it, maybe a lot of it comes from, like, the YouTube content creators and, the communities of people who follow them. Maybe though, this definitely will appeal to some people. It's a nice classic profile. We have that nice curvature there. There is some nice milling going on here. And it's a really beautiful inlay. It's very nicely done. We've got some lines coming around here around the side. They didn't do a traditional, button firing switch, like a circular button. They did like a nice, sort of custom to the design switch. I like the little almost Shirogorov outline touch to the jimping right there, which, by the way, is very functional. We got a nice flat. We have that really specific ZT machine satin finish that looks really, really good in comparison to what I would call the industry standard satin finish, the sort of yellowy, like watered down butter that we usually see on a lot of knives. This is MagnaCut, which is a more expensive blade steel composition than something like CPM 20CV, which we all universally consider to be premium. So in this case, you are paying for, number one, the fact that it is made in the United States. Number two, the frame is titanium. A lot of people like to claim that there's not a lot of difference between machining aluminum and titanium in terms of cost, and those people have no idea what they're talking about. Titanium is a more expensive material, and it is substantially more expensive to machine consistently versus aluminum, right? So when people say slap a Kershaw logo on this and charge $100 less, that's not how that works. If you were to make this exact same knife and put a Kershaw logo on it, it would cost exactly the same, right? Kershaw has in the past done USA titanium knives, like special edition ones. And if you guys remember, they end up costing the same or more, which people don't like to see because they don't like to see expensive knives with the Kershaw logo on them. So if we're going to compare apples to apples, what's apples to apples, right? If you're going to throw a Chinese product at me, that's not apples to apples. You can definitely go get Chinese products that are utilizing titanium and carbon fiber and MagnaCut, and they cost less. Why? Because they're made in China. USA manufacturing costs substantially more. So what's apples to apples? Titanium, MagnaCut, USA, right? And then, yeah, automatic. Like, do we have this? We got some titanium auto, like Hinder makes a titanium auto. McNeese makes a titanium auto. I'm sure there are a few others. But if we're just going to reduce, a lot of people say, oh, just the automatic feature is not going to add that much cost to it. Okay, so USA titanium and MagnaCut with a carbon fiber inlay, which is a detail that you have to consider, not just for the carbon fiber, but the excess milling that's required to accept the inlay on both sides. Who do we have to compare to? Well, you could compare Benchmade, not the auto feet, like just the titanium and MagnaCut part. Whoo, boy. Anybody familiar with those prices? Way higher. Hogue, right? A lot of people are screaming, ProTech, that's aluminum. And if they do use something more towards titanium, they use their brass, you start to get up substantially higher in price point, right? Sometimes they use MagnaCut, sometimes they use 20CV, sometimes just 154 CM, right? Maybe a little more embellishment, but those tend to be a little higher when we're comparing the right materials. So one of the only other companies left over to compare with is Hogue. Hogue will make great USA products with MagnaCut, and G10 and injection mold plastic, those will come in substantially less, and I think their pricing is fair. But when you look at their products that are made in titanium, I think they're still a little less, but not much. Right? They're still pretty up there. If you look around, a lot of the other stuff that's USA, titanium, and it's really like a fair comparison with this, it's close to the same price point. Do I think ZT's high? A lot of people say, like, you're in cahoots with ZT. You're trying to find nice things to say because you're worried about losing them as a partner, I see. Oh, man. That's funny. No, I can actually say whatever I want. ZT, personally, I don't, it's a miracle that ZT keeps sending me stuff, or that Kai keeps sending me ZT products, because I outside of the 0308, I just haven't really had a lot of nice things to say. I want the old Hinder collabs back. I want the old Les George collabs back. I love that stuff. It's obviously really expensive to do, which is why they don't do that anymore. They do the in-house stuff, which is this little Star Wars looking logo right here. That's what I want, and they know that. So it's a miracle that they still send me stuff, right? I haven't had a lot of positive things to say about ZT. But I still feel like this is slightly high. I think it's about $360. I don't think it's as, a lot of people are really like making it out to be a Days of Our Lives episode. Like it's so dramatic. Oh my God. Oh! And they don't explain what they feel like is a comparable, like something that's a true competitor that's a more fair price. They don't do that. They just immediately start crying into their pants. And I think that that's ridiculous and that's illogical. That's like a knee-jerk sort of like, I'm programmed to react like this because I have been for so long, right? So I kind of dismiss that behavior. I think that's a little bit, that's a little kind of like a knitting group, like, okay, chill. But I want this, I still feel like the price is slightly high. I feel like a little over 300, 320, maybe 340 would have been a little more on point for me. It is a nice lightweight automatic, for people who want that nice lightweight thin automatic, but they want the premium titanium, want the premium carbon fiber, that ZT look and feel. I'm sure they'll like that, right? I mean, and if that's what you're looking for, yeah, this will work. It's also got a pocket clip that is mountable for left and right hand carry. This is what I talk about all the time. The slots right here where it can be fit in and you don't have the look, like they must have done this. How does this fit in? Is it an internal screw? That's genius. It must be. This goes all the way through. So there's they're holding this in with another screw right there, which threads into the titanium but not through. So you don't have the eyesore that's associated with an ambidextrous pocket clip. Nice way to do that. Nice thinking. It's also a short clip. That's to my liking. If we reduce this to how easy is it to carry, right? How convenient is it as an object, an EDC cutting tool? Yeah, I think it's really, really nice, right? I think that the more people look at something like this, the more that they're going to find reasons that it's nice. The problem is it's a ZT. This isn't the shape that we want like those of you who think like me. I'm not saying that this is universally true. I'm saying if you think like me, we're like, ZT, why isn't it bigger? Why doesn't it cost the same as what I remember ZTs costing pre-2017, right? We want these knives to be something that they aren't. So we're overly critical of everything, including the price tag, right? Which is the same for everything. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it. I'm not saying anybody's wrong for thinking anything. I'm saying if you're going to scream and yell about it, then you got to actually provide like a fair comparison, right? Something to point at and say, this is why, right? Now, if you have something like that, point it out, share it in the comments section. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff, and I like to kind of pick through it and see if there's, sort of a reasonable like foundation for complaint there, right? I mean, if we have lots of USA production companies making essentially this and charging sub $300, well, sure, right? It's the same thing that we do with Benchmade. It's like Benchmade, why can you guys all of a sudden charge $200 more than your competitors? You're making exactly the same thing. We have something to point to, right? With ZT, I'm not so sure. I think this is much closer to the fair side, but people sort of seem to treat ZT exactly the same, and I don't really think that part of it is fair, right? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, just like reducing this to like trying to keep my bias for like what I want ZT to be, like if I keep that to the side, it's a pretty nice little auto, right? I feel like if this had a different brand on it, people would be like, oh, wow. Like listen, if ProTech made this, just pretend with me for a second. If ProTech announced that they had made a super sleek titanium and carbon fiber auto. Again, titanium, that is not a common material that we see for autos. Let's imagine ProTech announced that they were going to make a super sleek Magna Cut thin EDC auto. People would be over the moon for that. Oh, ProTech titanium auto, $360, sign me up. There's a lot of contradictions. I understand you're like, well, you're not catering to the same communities, right? You're talking to different communities there. So of course you're going to have ProTech fans who already appreciate and respect ProTech for doing what they do. They're going to get excited about them making something that's more premium from what they usually do for a price tag that's reasonable comparatively, right? Versus ZT fans just being upset with ZT, or ZT fans from the enthusiast knife world being upset with ZT for not catering specifically to what they remember ZT was. Okay. Still though, still, right? Those same fans, I feel like a lot of people that would complain about ZT would turn around and buy the same knife from ProTech, right? Because it said ProTech on it. Not everybody, but there's definitely some contradiction. There's definitely some pre-programmed behavior and some knee-jerk reacting going on, right? So I want to be fair about this, and I would ask you guys to do the same. At the same time, ZT, you guys are overdue for a new big model. You can cater to whoever else you're catering to, and at the same time, it'd be really cool for you guys to deliver something that, this end of the knife world, this sort of core ZT sub-community over here that we remember and love. It would be really cool to see that, right? I feel like we keep getting a lot of the same size stuff, and while a titanium automatic is cool, right, in some sense, the rest of it is kind of underwhelming, a little bit. So there's, just like I said at the beginning, if you stayed for the whole thing and you listen to my whole rant, some of the complaints are justified, and some of it is just hot air coming from people who don't want to take the time to think, right? But I guess that's any community, right? I've been there. I've definitely have done my fair share of not thinking and complaining. Anyways, The full review of this knife will come down the road. I need some time with it. I got to carry it and use it and try to come at this objectively, right? So thanks so much to Kai USA. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.